Welcome, everybody, as the American Space Museum presents you Stay Curious with me, Marquette. And of course, today we're doing backyard astronomy to stay star curious with Stargazer Mark. And we're going to feature one of the most famous and easily seen constellations, Orion the Hunter. Wherever you're at in the world, you can see Orion right now rising up over the eastern sky. And here it is behind me in some clouds. Rising over Kennedy Space Center. You'll see that below my name here in just a minute on another slide. But the thing you see right off the bat are three stars in a line, and that's the belt of Orion. And no star cluster looks like it's supposed to be better than Orion the Hunter. It's little imagination's taken to see this wonderful mythological creature. Just off my ear there's a red star, Betelgeuse, and above it is another bright star that are his shoulders. And then you see the three stars of the belt, and below you see the two knee stars. And we're going to talk about these stars in the constellation in general, because from that belt hang three stars, and the middle star I see right there is very plain, and yet it's not a star. It is one of the most famous objects ever seen through a telescope by amateurs and professionals. That's the Great Nebula of Orion. Well, let's look at this picture here. Is another one that I took recently over Kennedy Space Center. That's the big light in the VAB in the center. Marty can point that out. And you see the three, there's the Orion, his belt right there, and his sword. That is the launch pads you're padding across. That's the vehicle assembly building there in the middle. And that's pad 40 to its right, lit up for a launch. That's pad 41.
Other right.
Yeah. No, keep going. You were going the other. No. That's Cape Space Force. That one is pad 41, and to the left of it is 39A, and that would be the light for 39B over there. So this is you can't take too long time exposures in light polluted areas where I took this, but still you get the gist of Orion rising over Kennedy Space Center and the Cape Canaveral Space Force. Let me go to the next slide here to show you in mythology in the sky, Orion is depicted like this, having a big club in his hand. Of course, he's facing us, so that's his right hand facing us. He's either got a shield or a head of a animal that he conquered, or maybe the head of an animal he conquered on a shield, as is shown there. And there you see the belt kneeling down, and he's facing Taurus the bull. And the Pleiades are up there. The seven little sisters of the Pleiades are also right there. And we're going to see all these players in some of the photographs that I've taken to show you Orion, the constellation Orion, and to emphasize that you can take these photos like I have with very little effort in today's digital camera world. Orion pursues the seven sisters, or the Pleiades, high overhead. Taurus the bull snorts nearby, and the twin brothers of Gemini are also close to this constellation. In astronomy, Orion is the delivery room of cosmic stars in our Milky Way, because it is embedded in a gaseous cloud called Bernard's Loop, unseen to the human eyes, but you're not going to believe when you see a friend of mine's photography of this, Matt Harbison of Chattanooga, here in just a minute. Here is sorry for the poor resolution, but this again shows you that Orion in the center. This is a map showing you where Mars was a couple years ago, so disregard that. But I wanted to show you that the brightest star, Sirius, is to the left and below Orion, and up above it is another bright star, Procyon. These are the two stars in the Canis Major and Canis Minor, the big and little dog of the Orion, and at its feet is actually Lepus, the hare that they're chasing there. So there's a lot of good mythological astrology in this part of the sky with the stories going on, much like we saw with the mythology of Andromeda and Perseus and her spoiled queen mother Cassiopeia. Now here's another look at the outline of Orion. You won't miss it, but when it's rising on its side, like it's kind of leaping out of bed. And then as the night goes on and towards midnight, it'll be directly south, where it will be about in January when it gets dark. You'll see it directly south. All of these stars have names, and we're going to go over a couple of the named stars here. The belt names are pretty cool. Alnitak, Alnilam, and Mintaka. In Alnitak and Alnilam, Alnitak means the girdle, Alnilam, string of pearls, in Mintaka, the belt, in Arabic. A lot of constellations have Arabic names, and the stars have Arabic names. They either start with AL or EL for the. And so we actually had the Mintaka. I love that name. And there is the Orion Nebula is in the sword that's dangling down from the belt. Now the upper left-hand star is called Betelgeuse, and that star is we're going to talk about here in just a second. That is the star that almost faded. I could tell over the decades of looking at this constellation that this star had faded. It is a giant star that we're waiting to blow up. Any day it could blow up. It could blow up tonight, or it could blow up 1,000 years from now, or 10,000 years from now. It probably has already blown up because it is 310 light years away from us, all right? So we wouldn't know if it blew up tonight for 310 years. But if it blew up 312 years ago, we would be seeing it bright in our daylight. Now here is a nice night view of what we were talking about. Orion is on his side. You've got, there's the three belt stars, very good. And you see the V of Taurus up above. In the middle is the V of the head of Taurus the bull. A little higher, a little higher. There's the V right there. And then the Pleiades is up ahead. And the Pleiades looks like a little tiny dipper. All right. And the two bright stars to the left, as Jessica's doing the pointing around here, that's Castor, and the other one's Pollux and Gemini the twin. We got Jessica with us here today, and Marty Winkle, and we have been enjoying 6 months together of bringing you a better Stay Curious program and Star Curious every Monday as part of our outreach here at our nonprofit, the American Space Museum. There we are, fancily, I outlined how that looks. And this is taken in East Tennessee a couple years ago, where I used to live, kind of in light polluted skies. I like having the high clouds in there kind of add to it in there. So, and here is the star that's behind me in the backdrop, showing you again a different look at Orion rising over Kennedy Space Center. And I put a fancy little 6-point star filter that just enhances things. And you amateur photographers out there, that's a very valuable tool for your night launch, is a star filter. And during this I may have just held it over the lens for a couple seconds to get that effect. You can play with it there. So part one with Christmas trees. Now I'm going to show you the Orion as it looks, as it's standing up south here about midnight here in December and January. As the Earth moves around the sun, it rises earlier and earlier and earlier. And this is a pretty good view of it in kind of light polluted suburban skies. Okay. And again, I took these photographs. This might be 1,000 ISO on your camera, maybe a 30-second exposure. You can capture something like this. And here I went to a darker site. Look at the difference between my backyard and then on top of a mountain in East Tennessee. Look at how orange the Betelgeuse is in the upper left. Betelgeuse is called the armpit of the giant. That's the orange star in the upper left, 310 light years away. It is 300 to 400 times larger than our sun. And when the Webb telescope is launched and where fingers and toes are crossed that it gets up, December 24th is when it's scheduled now to launch. This is one of the first things it's going to look at, is this star, because the Webb telescope will be able to see the shape and physical size of this star in a photograph, and maybe see star spots, maybe prominences coming off of it. I predict it's not going to look completely spherical. It'll look kind of oblate because it has run out of its fuel, and it's like a gas balloon that's barely holding on. The star on the right-hand side there, Jessica, as you're doing honors with the white star to the right, blue-white, that's Bellatrix. That's also about the same distance away as Betelgeuse. It's a blue giant star. In other words, these stars, giant stars, are many, many times larger than our sun. If we could put this star in our solar system, it would go out to about the planet Mercury. Betelgeuse, on the other hand, would swallow up Mars. It is so big if put in our solar system.
And that means
all right.
It would swallow us too.
It would swallow us too. It'd swallow the stars. It'd swallow us and everything else. There's the belt, and then you drop down to the belt, and we're going to look at the Orion Nebula here. That star to the left there is Saiph, S-A-I-P-H. It is 1,300 light years away. Still pretty bright. If it was as close as Betelgeuse, it would be seen in the daytime. Imagine that. And the other bright star there is another giant star called Rigel. And Rigel is very bright. It is 910 light years away. All right. So these two stars might be part of the same clouds that they were born out of, as were Betelgeuse and Saiph, Betelgeuse and Bellatrix. Because they're 310 light years away. The ones at the bottom and the giant's kneecaps are about 1,000 light years away. And again, a light year is the distance light travels in a year, about 6 trillion miles. All right. Now look at this beautiful shot. I took this photograph and then took another photograph, same time exposure, with a little fancy star filter on it. And it does have that little bit of wow factor, though, on there. And then I took just a regular photographic lens. This might be taken, for all of you interested, with about that's about 100 millimeters maybe on a photographic lens. And then this is about 200 millimeters, giving you a zoom in on the 3 stars of the belt and the sword coming down, and you're going, wait a minute, that's not a star in the middle. That is a nebula, the great nebula of Orion, and there it is. It looks like a clamshell with it's a giant cloud in space, and it's being lit up by the birth of the stellar nursery inside of it. And you can see 4 stars in a trapezoid right in the middle that were just born. The great nebula of Orion, called M42 in Charles Messier's famous catalog, where he found 105 objects that didn't move because he was looking for comets that moved. And these all look like comets, like faint fuzzies, we call them. And through the eyepiece, you can just hint out the shape of this. You don't see the colors, but you can certainly tell the shape of this kind of a convex nebula there. What we're looking at here in a better photograph taken by some friends of mine. Look at that nice photograph. And this is a big target for amateur astronomers everywhere. In fact, this is Matt Harbison. Hi, Matt, my friend in Chattanooga, who's one of the most outstanding astrophotographers that's come on the scene in a long time. Matt does some amazing work. He regularly goes to deep sky sites like Big Bend in Texas to do his work, and you're going to see some of his best work here in just a minute. The Great Nebula of Orion is 1,300 light years away, so it's about the same distance as Saiph and Rigel there, the bottom kneecaps of Orion. This is 15 light years across. So light traveling at 186,000 miles a second, going 6 trillion miles in 1 year, takes 15 years to go from one side to the other side. This is the visible portion that we see, because wait till you see the unseen portion of this detected in infrared and other light. There's even a bigger cosmic cloud behind it. And here's another gorgeous photograph. And right there in the center, give me that little circle, you can see 4 stars right there in the very center. Those are baby stars born out of this stellar nursery, all right? And if I could enlarge this, this is like a Hubble telescope photograph of this. And you see little globs of pieces in there. These are solar systems being created. In fact, Go to the center there, please, with your circle. And now go up at the 11 o'clock, up from there. A little further, a little further. See those dark globules right there? Those are solar systems being created in this cloud. Not kidding you. Where a star is being formed in there, and then maybe the rest of the cloud is going to develop planets around it. Very incredible. This whole star system is just amazing to see. And here it is again, the Orion Nebula. And now I'm going to show you Matt's photograph that he spent over 2 years in tens of thousands of hours of imaging this, all right? Do you see Orion there with the 3 belt and the 2 stars at the bottom? There you see the belt. You see the orange star in the upper left. This, if we could see this with our naked eye, all of the pathos, what is being created there in this area of the winter Milky Way, we would see this. This is there, but we can't see it with our eyes, all right? And Matt, what a job he's done. He's won many awards with this photograph. I mean, here is Orion, folks, in there with our naked eye. And here is really, if we could see all of the hydrogen, and because this is taken with a lot of hydrogen alpha filters and things like that. He has stitched together thousands of pictures here that he's taken hours and hours upon to build there. Isn't that amazing? Look at the belt in the Orion Nebula. Near the left star of the belt is the Horsehead Nebula. So many things in Orion, it's just incredible to look at. So when you're seeing it rising from your own backyard, think about all of this unseen clouds and cosmic pathos of creation of stars and planets. Let's go back that way. And this is a picture that Matt took. It's tilted on purpose to give you kind of a cool view of meteors coming out of the Orion Nebula, or the Orion constellation. You can just see it there, right of center. You can see the 3 stars that make, in fact, there's a meteor going down the horizon, and that parallels the belt of Orion and the sword there. But the very famous meteor shower emanates out of Orion, and the particles are from Halley's Comet, all right? And that happens, by the way, in October, is when around October 21st is the peak of that. Now, because Orion is seen, and there's a gorgeous bolide, this is a bright meteor that explodes. So this was probably the size of not a grain of sand like most meteors, but it might have been a pebble to like a thumb-sized rock could have created this. And there you see Orion, his belt. Over far on the right, you see the Pleiades setting in the V of Taurus the Bull there. And you know, I wanted to throw in for Marty Winkle, my co-producer, friend, and cameraman, another famous Orion that you see on the sky when the moon's up now, the lunar lander, LM-11 of the Grumman series of lunar landers, was called Orion, with John Young and Charlie Duke taking it down to the surface of the moon. And there we've got Orion rising over Kennedy Space Center again. You see the 3 belt of stars there. You know, Orion, because it is on the equator, the belt almost divides the hemispheres of the sky equally. But when it's seen all over the world, but when it's in Australia, South America, and Africa, it's upside down because they're standing on their heads down there. Ha, ha, ha. Well, we're glad to share with you the story of Orion the Hunter, the handsome hunter that's got his 2 dogs with him, Canis Major and Minor. There's a rabbit that they're chasing beneath his feet, Lupus. And go check all this out on your own from your own backyard, as we are there. Back to Orion there, Taurus the Bull there. Again, giving you an idea of what he looks like in mythology, and the beautiful night sky of Taurus the Bull rising over Kennedy Space Center here. That was kind of a lucky shot, I'll agree. It's hard to get the twilight with the stars going out there. It wasn't twilight. It was actually a long exposure to make it look like twilight. So go out there and play around with your digital camera on a tripod If you don't have a tripod, ask one for a gift. Maybe Santa Claus will drop one off. There's still time.
Amazon Smile.
Amazon Smile is how you can order things from the American Space Museum, and that is Marcus is your nonprofit there. Tell your friends when they're in the holiday season here of Christmas, Kwanzaa, Hanukkah, Festivus for the rest of us. And not making light of it. In the new year, a time to celebrate. While you're sitting around eating the good food, watching too much TV, tell your friends that, hey, why don't we go to YouTube and watch some Stay Curious there and see what Mark's doing and Marty and Jessica. I guarantee it'll be time well spent because we're on YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, and we want y'all to like, share, follow us, and subscribe to us so we can help our nonprofit grow and help this program grow, because always New Year's resolutions are on people's mind, and my resolution is to take our program here that we've worked so hard on for a year and a half, born out of the pandemic. We want more people to enjoy this. So we're going to work hard to really put this on some different platforms, and we're happy that you like how it looks. We're so grateful for Jessica Galloway and her cheap development, taking us to a new level here. And Marty and I, we've got it down pretty good. We did a couple of shows on our own, Marty. And we're glad that you all are enjoying this. So every Monday is Stay Star Curious on Stay Curious. So we will see you again for some more backyard astronomy next Monday to bridge the space between us.